Good afternoon. Welcome to Public Safety Committee meeting. I'm joined by my colleague, Pat Hogan, Amir Gathers, Latoya Allen, and of course myself. Today, we are going to have a conversation around the issue of car theft and the juvenile. And of course, one of our colleagues, Jen Scholes, is coming in. So we are going to have that conversation around the safety of our community, especially around the issues that are being caused by specifically children and the car theft and the things that we could do. So what we will do first is allow the chief and the officers and the deputies and everybody to kind of give us an overview. Where are we with it? So far in terms of how serious, in terms of are there serious injuries in it, and how many, and the mitigation factors surrounding those issues. So, Chief,
Sure.
take it away.
Thanks, Counselor. The only questions we got from you had to do with stolen vehicles. So I'll start with those, and if you have questions beyond those, the thing that we just passed out is from our Crime Analysis Center, and again, gives you a breakdown. You can look at all the numbers, but just to give you an idea, the number of stolen vehicles for 2023 so far, this is up to November 15th. The city's had 994 of them. County has 461 of them for a total of 1,455. Keep in mind, if you look at the top, the one disclaimer is there's the county sealed arrests. We cannot access those, so we're not sure. But clearly this number is higher than this. Higher than that 1,455 number, no doubt about that. Another number that will raise that up that we're unaware of is our cars. There's a back and forth between Syracuse and Rochester right now, so many stolen vehicles are going to Rochester, and then they're being apprehended and arrested in Rochester, and vice versa. But the ones that are arrested in Rochester are also not on this number because the arrest occurred in Rochester, even though the crime occurred here.
Are they Rochester residents?
That's a great question. I think the ones that I've seen are our residents, but I think some of them are Rochester as well. If you look at the number of stolen vehicle incidents with an arrest, below that number that I just gave you, the city has had 131, county 71 for a total of 202. The number of persons arrested, and the reason that number is higher is because if there's multiple people in the car, chances are they're all going to get arrested for the stolen vehicle. So number of people arrested is 170 for the city, 92 for the county, total of 255. I know one of your questions was recidivism. So the category we have below that, number of people arrested for one stolen vehicle, 140 adults and 92 juveniles. The number of persons arrested for two stolen vehicles, meaning they've done it twice, 10 adults and 5 juveniles. And the number of people arrested for 3 stolen vehicles goes down to 3 for adults and 2 for juveniles. Number caught with 4 stolen vehicles is 1 adult and 2 juveniles. Keep in mind, all these numbers are skewed somewhat because sometimes these crimes go unreported. So the numbers, every one of these numbers is very likely higher than what you're seeing here. And again, another one of your questions was the age breakdown. Arrested persons age 17 and younger. The city had 78 of those arrests, and the average age was 15 in that 17 or younger. County had 27 of them. Again, the average age was 15. Persons arrested 18 to 25 years of age. City had 33. Average age in that bracket was 22 years. County had 20 of those arrests, and the average age was 21. And then it goes even higher than that, as you can see on the categories here of people arrested and their ages. Things being done. Clearly, our patrol division is out there doing all the things they do. And we've had multiple details with the New York State Police, County Sheriff's Department. These were specifically targeted for stolen vehicles, with Air One up there trying to target the vehicles and us trying to apprehend them to cut down on this number of vehicles being stolen. we've had public information. We've had public information go out to the media outlets and to our Facebook pages. Is my voice getting scratchy? Is that why you're
I'm
presenting this?
just sharing the love.
Thank you. Going out to the media outlets and our Facebook page, things that the public can do. Because keep in mind, this will never be solved by enforcement alone. These cars are far too easy to steal. It takes seconds to break into a car and steal it, especially the vehicles that are being stolen most prevalently. So it's going to take community, it's going to take the citizens, the owners of the vehicles, to exercise some crime prevention, whether it's the club inside the vehicle that prevents them from steering the vehicle, or from going down and getting the upgrade, which will prevent them from getting in your vehicle and stealing those specific vehicles within seconds. It will also mean help from the dealerships. There is an event coming up. I believe it's in the next 2 weeks, with one of the larger dealers, Matthews, I believe it is going to have an event where you can literally drive your car in. It's going to almost be like a drive-through, and they will install the upgrade on those specific vehicles, the Hondas and the other vehicle that's being stolen most of the time. That upgrade will again prevent it from being stolen simply by plugging in a USB and taking the vehicle.
Who pays for that?
I believe I don't have Matt Malinowski here, but I believe it's been free all along if you go in there. I believe that upgrade is being offered free, but I'll certainly make sure.
Like the dealer or the
dealers.
manufacturer?
Oh, the dealers,
pays for it?
yes.
Okay.
Doing the upgrade?
100%.
Okay.
We've been dealing with Mathewson for months now.
And it's been a very effective neighborhood watch groups and all that to
Yes.
disseminate information into the neighborhoods too, so.
100%. Yep.
So the number of stolen vehicle incidents with the DR numbers and everything, that is the numbers of vehicles that were recovered, or just to get the difference between the number of stolen vehicles and the number of stolen vehicle incidents? I just wanted to get some clarification.
Yeah, so incident would be the vehicle stolen, and then I'm looking at, is it the top?
Yeah, the top and bottom number, 994 and 1018.
Yeah, well, I'm going to ask Deputy Chief Trudell to come up and answer that, because he'll know better than I.
Dealership and stealing multiple cars. So there'd be one incident with 3 or 4 cars stolen.
Okay.
It's the same concept as us grabbing a stolen vehicle with 4 people in it. All 4 would be arrested. It'd be one recovery, but 4 people arrested. One incident, multiple cars stolen.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Thank you for that clarification.
So when you look at the number of stolen vehicle, Chief, and the number of the arrest is way, way, way small. Does it mean that those that steal vehicle never get caught?
Oh, yeah, and very, very much. So the vehicle will be recovered behind a vacant lot, or I'm sorry, in a vacant lot, behind an abandoned house, in a parking lot. So many of these vehicles are being recovered without any occupant in them.
Are there any, maybe this might be a question for Chief Trudell again too. Are there any hot spots like in the city where the department would go to just to recover vehicles? I know there's a lot of like dumping areas around here that we might have.
Because those are areas that we actually focus our details on. So we've run a detail with the state police and the sheriff's office. In those areas, we bring in license plate readers from the state police. Mm-hmm. We set them up in specific locations to try and make arrests, not just recoveries, because I think what you see on the paper is we have a lot of recoveries without as many arrests. So we're trying to make those arrests at the same time. But there are spots where they are specifically being hidden within the city.
Good, good.
Given an appearance ticket and then sent on their way?
Yeah, in this state, yes, for the most part. And Chief Russin, I don't know if we go beyond that, but in most cases, it's probably an appearance ticket for a stolen vehicle.
That's correct.
Follow-up after. I know it's probably not the police department that's doing the follow-up, but a lot of them are school age kids. So is there anything that we're doing to reach out to the school that the child is attending and maybe trying to intervene with the school and parents at all?
There are several different times where we would do that. I can't say that it's all the time though, but when we have our ComStat meetings, if we see someone that has a high level of activity for different actions, one could certainly be what they're posting on social media or stolen vehicles or involvement in things. We will work with the school district and make notifications so they can start to handle things on their side of the house as well.
So what does a youth arrest look like compared to an adult arrest? One goes to family court, one goes to criminal court?
Yes, generally speaking.
And the prosecution, they're different, right? Like,
That's also correct. It's different. Family court versus criminal court. They're two different avenues that would go down. How they handle and the disposition of a case is going to be different in criminal court versus family court.
and do youth ever go to criminal court? I think at the state level, Governor Hochul had said they were starting to prosecute at a higher level for youth. Is that something that we're doing here?
Yeah, I just want to make sure, though, that in talking with stolen vehicles, I'm not sure that it would deviate significantly. Now, if it was a more significant crime, something more severe of a crime, then there could be a transfer over to criminal court. There could be times where a stolen vehicle and then a series of other related charges could go to criminal court. But as a matter of general practice, I don't think that a stolen vehicle with a juvenile, outside of exceptional circumstances, would go anyplace other than family court. Again, generally speaking, each case can be handled just a little bit differently.
I'm sorry. Please.
Youth involved with a stolen vehicle, they get an arrest 100% of the time. Is there ever a time where you say, well, we caught him in the car?
It would be, so if the person that owns the car says they don't want to prosecute, that could be one instance where we're not going to charge, I would imagine, right?
I was going to say same thing.
What is the classification for that in terms of charges? Is it a misdemeanor? Is it a felony? What's the classification for a car theft?
There's a couple of specific factors that you would have to look at, but generally speaking, you're looking at unauthorized use of a motor vehicle, which is a Class A misdemeanor. That's what you would be looking at. But now sometimes you could have a grand larceny fourth or criminal possession of a stolen property, but it depends on the circumstances and how they came to be in possession of that car. If it's a car that's been passed from person to person to person, it's generally going to fall into the category of unauthorized use of a motor vehicle.
Who get to make that? Is that a judge discretion or that?
I didn't hear the.
Is that the judge discretion to make that call, or how does that?
For charging purposes, there are some standard practices that we would use. Like if we know that the car has been used for joyriding and has been used for a significant period of time, generally speaking, we would just make this one charge. But there could be other circumstances where we would charge the grand larceny or criminal possession of stolen property. Sometimes we have to consult with the DA's office and say, this is the fact pattern that we have here. What do you think are the most appropriate charges? What the judge does is ultimately in his or her discretion. It would be grand larceny fourth.
And what would prompt that? I mean, like a breaking into the car, physically breaking into the car and taking it, or what?
Yeah, it would really contemporaneous in time. If it had just occurred and we had just caught the person in, then you would start to look at these other charges of criminal possession of stolen property and grand larceny.
Okay, would that mean the person would go to Hillbrook?
Again, it depends on
The judge?
It depends on the judge. It depends on if they would qualify. Again, generally speaking, just even if you had grand larceny and the criminal possession of stolen property, unauthorized use, I don't think that it would. I would have to get back with you on that, though.
Well, the chiefs here and any of the chiefs who want to, as far as this council, I mean, is there some like program we could work with for family court regarding this information, something like that, as far as something that's maybe not a penalty, but like where they'd have to like serve in our parks, community service or something like that?
It's a good question. I'm certainly happy to talk to the other DCs about it and get back with you.
I'm sure we would talk to the administration about that. I think the biggest fear, one of my biggest fears is not only the injury that might happen to the kid who steals the car, but the possible injury that might happen on the street with these kids who are driving these cars and they don't know how to drive. You know, I know we had an incident a couple years ago with our ATV where a kid was really hurt on Gifford Street, I believe. So That is,
One thing to keep in mind with charges in family court is that everyone that's charged in family court, they initially stop at probation. So probation will do a workup on that kid, and they look at the best interest of the child. And there, to your point, there are community services opportunities. They look at the family situation. So all of those things are evaluated by probation. So I think probation might be an avenue to provide additional things for juveniles to do. But every juvenile arrest starts with probation and gets a review of the child and their circumstances.
So as the department, I see here with minors that are repetitive, right? There's 5 of them here under 17, right? With that, with you being the person that would interface with them and put them back and forth, you know, as they get released, you take them back. Has there been any way of asking the probation to say, okay, where is there a written mechanism where you require this child, the family get involved, the school get involved? Is there something written, a guideline that is promoted to make sure that the welfare of this child is considered? Because 5 of them is 5 too many,
Right.
to keep doing it.
Yes, so there's a couple of different mechanisms. As far as stolen vehicles go and kids that are repetitive in that nature, we have a crime analysis center here in Onondaga County. So probation would rely on the crime analysis center to give them, when they look into this child's background, they would rely on the crime analysis center to let them know that they've been arrested this many times. And what other things? Because this is just stolen vehicles. Maybe they've been arrested for burglaries, maybe they've been arrested for other things. So probation would get a full package of that child. When it comes to higher level crimes, we have a committee that's formed for juveniles. And everybody within Onondaga County that has participation in the child's prosecution, so to speak, meets monthly. And we will go over that child's background, whether it's for gun arrests, which primarily that's the case, violent arrests, but there's a committee that's formed that will go over that child's background and weigh in so that the probation department can provide the best synopsis.
Cars that have been stolen outside of the Kias, right? Because we know the issue with that. Well, you know, case sensitive wise, what do you see the main cause of the cars being stolen? Is it keys being left in there? Is it, you know, just people being careless or, you know?
So outside of the Kia and Hyundai, which we all know how that happens with the USB drive, and it's primarily burglaries of dealerships, grabbing the keys, or it's keys being left in cars, especially this time of year. As it gets colder, people are warming up their cars or leaving them in gas stations, that sort of thing. We're not seeing a lot of ignition damage, true stolen vehicles outside of the Hyundai Kia. It is mostly keys left in cars or businesses getting broken into and keys getting stolen, and then they're going back and grabbing the cars.
I mean, before this, it was almost 50% of the cars, correct, that were stolen. Before, I mean, this current spate of Kias and Hyundais and all that, it's like 50% keys left in the car.
I'd say higher than that.
Is it higher than that?
Prior to the Kia deal, I'd say keys left in cars were the vast majority.
I mean, that's a tremendous emphasis. That
Yeah.
It's done at all the neighborhood watch meetings. Your people do that all the time. It's really stunning when you think about it. 50%.
Keys left in cars is a big thing for us.
Is there a specific targeted area in the city that we see the
Which I can guess on.
uprise? Quadrant, yeah.
Of your districts.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
So, yeah, Chief, where are we with the CARS program that the governor announced in September? Like, as a city, where are we with that?
What program is that?
The Comprehensive Auto Theft Reduction Strategy.
So part of that was what I mentioned with our collaboration with the state police. I know if somebody wants to come back up and talk about those details, so it's already begun, correct? With a couple of those details, but there's more to come.
Yeah, that's correct. So shortly after that, the state police reached out. We reached out to the sheriff's department, and we have fairly large details that go out, 60 officer details that will go out with the assistance of the state police helicopter or Onondaga County Sheriff's Air 1. And we'll try to find the cars primarily through the license plate readers that the state police are bringing in. They're on mobile trailers. The Crime Analysis Center helped us work out where we're actually recovering these from and trying to find, what's the best pond to fish in, if you will. So we looked at the data. We stationed where we thought we were going to have the highest probability of success, and then we run the detail. And there's a significant footprint, and so we recovered a bunch of them. What we're finding is that we actually were recovering more in the 48 hours before the detail, because we were getting a lot of license plate hits off the LPRs, and then the officers not assigned to the detail, they were just there to collect, historical data. We'd come in and we would recover those cars. I think there was 8 recovered after the 48 hours prior to the last detail. So November 6th and November 7th detail went out on November 8th. We're in plans right now to have another detail here in the very near future. But we've had great partnerships with the Sheriff's Office and State Police.
Yeah, because I'm wondering, she's allocated $5 million up to it, depending on what county and the city and how bad we've been hit by these car thefts. So like, are you working on grants to get this money? Do you have to work with the county to secure this money? And what does that plan look like? Is it city specific? He just, obviously, Deputy Chief Russin spoke to the state police being involved in it, but like, what more are we doing here locally?
So all those things, and we hardly ever do anything locally without our partners in there. And I give the Governor Hochul great credit. Every time she sees an issue, when it was gun violence, she pumped a bunch of money in to give another $800,000 additionally than the money we already had in there, so that we can put more details out. As you all know, our gun violence data is down now in every category. And now she sees this as an issue, which is correct. Our property crime is through the roof. So she's put some more money into it. As far as how we recover the money for these details, I'm sure that someone really smart in City Hall knows how to get reimbursed from this $5 million.
Where's
right
Janet
now,
Burke when we need her?
Simply, yes, and the smart people on this table. But right now we're just focused on putting the details out there to see if we can recover some of these vehicles. But as I mentioned before, this won't be solved by enforcement. It's going to be solved by crime prevention through the owners of the vehicles. And then for those specific Kias and Hyundais, it's going to be fixed by that upgrade that doesn't allow them to be stolen with a simple USB.
What's the approach? Assume that you run into somebody that is stealing a car. What is the department approach to that?
If they're in the process of stealing a vehicle, we would investigate to make sure it's not their vehicle. If it's determined that they are stealing someone else's vehicle, we would arrest them.
And also there is another question about classification of, or at least the ranking of stolen vehicle. Is it number 2, is it number 3, is it number 4 on the sensitivity side? How do you classify that?
You mean as far as a priority up at 911? Well, if it's a stolen vehicle and it's already occurred and it's gone, it's out of the area, someone wakes up in the morning, goes out to go to work and their car is gone, which unfortunately happens frequently. Right now, all across the country, by the way, not just here, but it would be a priority, I would imagine, a 3, because it's already taken place. It's not going to rank up there with the priority ones, which is an event that's occurring right then and there. And there's some danger involved, a shooting or a burglary in progress, things like that.
On a different note, what have you seen? You have spoken earlier about violent crime, guns being a little bit down. What have you seen that have worked, that has helped the SPD effort in that process?
So, I was asked this the other day, and I felt like I was at the Academy Awards because I had so many people to thank. Listen, not to make light of gun violence, but it's down because of so many different people. And it's not just SPD, and they are doing a great job out there. We've already beaten our record for taking illegal guns off the street this year, and last year we'd beaten the record before that. So we're taking guns off the street. Our arrests for criminal possession of weapons is higher this year than last year, which was higher than the year before. And the reason I mention that is these aren't guns just found in a vacant lot or in an empty vacant house. These are guns on people that were carrying them around to use against someone else. So that's why the arrests are up, as well as the gun recoveries. But beyond that, our GIVE initiative, which we can put out so many more details with another $800,000, involves the Onondaga County Sheriff's Office, New York State Troopers, probation, parole, all those players helping us go out and get the guns, go out and focus on the areas where the shootings are occurring. But once again, as I mentioned with the cars, the ultimate solution to this will not be enforcement. It will be the outreach workers that are going out there under Pastor Lateef Johnson Kinsey and getting young people and adults that are in gangs to put the guns down and take a different path. Because the path they're on right now, as every one of you knows, leads two places, either jail, prison, or the graveyard. That's what's going to ultimately solve the gun violence problem in this city. But our numbers are drastically down across every category. The highest category, which is shootings with injuries. The last number I heard or saw was 43%. 43% less people being shot and injured by gunfire. Huge number. We'd be having a different conversation if it was 43% up, but it's down. But the ultimate solution will be getting people to put the guns down and take a different path, a more productive path.
Chief, I'm just a little confused there. You said that they're seizing more guns than ever before.
Ever before.
So when you attribute by seizing more guns, that would directly correlate with the amount of people that are not being injured by those guns, correct?
Oh, 100%. That's one of the reasons. Yeah, I started with that because I'm always going to brag about SPD. But I wanted to make sure everyone knew this is a partnership. And the partnership stretches beyond even law enforcement into outreach workers that are out there trying to get people to put guns down.
See, I think a lot of us feel the tension in all these neighborhoods, you know, and we're looking for, of course, you know, people all of a sudden getting their cars broken into. I am personally aware of things that happen around my streets. I've had 3 cars just around the corner from me. But I mean, I think what we worry about is the action of the citizens too, you know, getting your cars stolen and what might happen with these young people doing that. Especially, I talked to the town supervisor in Onondaga. They had a couple cars stolen in Westbrook, and they work in coordination with your city police people, and they caught them on Monticello Drive there. Horrible car accident there. So, I mean, all these untoward consequences that happen from the actions of these juveniles, and I think there's trying to reach them to keep them from doing that. Yep. You know, I think we have to come up with some sort of innovative ways to do that. That's why I mentioned something with probation and all that.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. It's not just the stolen vehicle, which is, Chief Russin mentioned, a misdemeanor, and very much, you know, and a great deal of cost and inconvenience to the person who owns the vehicle that walked out to go to work that day. Certainly inconvenience and cost to them too, but beyond that, they're using them to commit burglaries, robberies. They're racing them around. We've seen collisions. We've seen death. So it goes well beyond stolen vehicles. It's not a game. It's not a video game. There's real injury out there, if not death, when you steal these vehicles and you take it to the next level.
Is there some sort of competitive thing between the gangs stealing these cars?
I don't know if it's between the gangs or this group of people. We have seen videos where, I saw one recently where 4 individuals, separate individuals, stole separate vehicles and all met up at a gas station on the south side, got out on camera, gave high fives, and then drove off on the vehicle. So it seems to be, I don't know if it's a competition or a game, but it's nothing to play around with. It's a dangerous thing to do.
With that, Chief, we are already in Thanksgiving week. We are heading into Christmas. We are heading into New Year. It means that more young kids are going to have nothing to do, which means also people are going to be home. Cars are going to be parked. What's the approach to kind of help the holiday season and the spike of crimes around that? Is there a detail, their plan on what is that?
Well, first of all, let me just say this, and I know all of you know this already, but the 10-hour day has assisted us in many different ways. It's put extra patrol officers on the street during peak times, peak call times. And why I mention that is this. The 3rd Platoon, 3 to 11 shift used to come in sometimes 35 calls behind. These are people who call the police and are waiting for the police, sometimes with a stolen vehicle. And this shift had to clear up those calls. Meanwhile, more calls were coming in, and then it could never catch up. And then the next shift started behind as well. With this new 10-hour shift and being able to put more officers on the road during peak times, those calls waiting have dropped into the single digits. In some cases, shifts are starting with 0 calls waiting, which means they can go out and be more proactive. It means they can go out and get on the bikes, which we started this summer. It means they can go out and do the Copra Curve. The Copra Curve, if you haven't heard that, is officers getting out of their car 2 or 3 times per shift for a specific reason, whether it's an area that's having gun violence, area that's having stolen vehicles, criminal mischiefs, what have you. Get out of the vehicle and walk down the block, walk down a couple blocks, meet with residents, meet with business owners, doing that 2 or 3 times per shift. The reason this is working now is simply this: the officers have the time. That's the critical part of police work, is having the time to do proactive work. When you have the ability to do proactive work and not just chase calls from one side of the city to the other, it's much more easy to solve things. So those are the things that we'll be doing, is putting extra patrols out. They're already out there because of the 10-hour day. But I will say this, and we never throw our hands up, we never surrender, but we can't be ubiquitous. These vehicles are being, as Chief Rustin said, being stolen in every part of the city. Someone who works closely with my office came in today and said one just got stolen in her neighborhood, which is Winkworth, which is probably a neighborhood you don't think cars are getting stolen in, but it is happening in literally every neighborhood across the city, across this county, and across the state and the country. And we can't be ubiquitous. So the people who own the vehicles have to show some type of crime prevention measures. Again, the club is a good preventative tool, and I'll tell you why. If you have one of those types of vehicles that can be stolen, and the person stealing it has no idea whether you got the upgrade or not, so they're going to smash your window, and they're going to go in there, and now you have the upgrade, so they can't steal your vehicle, but you just got your window broken anyway. If the club is clearly visible, showing that even if they are able to use the USB, they're not going to be able to use the steering wheel, it's going to cut down on that type of thing. You're probably not going to get your window broken. So that's a simple thing you can do. I think the club is $28. Again, going to get the upgrade before we have this event, you can drive into your dealership, get that upgrade. That's going to assist things. And once we're over the hump of these 2 vehicles being stolen, as Chief Trudell mentioned, the majority of the vehicles were stolen with keys in it. Last year, we had a number of vehicles where, because now you have the keyless entry, and you get 2 of those keys with your fancy vehicle, and people decided it would be more convenient if I just left one of those in the vehicle. And so guess what? If the door was unlocked, someone was getting in your vehicle and driving away, full access to your vehicle because the key was sitting there on the dashboard because it was more convenient. So we certainly need help from the public because we'll never solve this alone. But I think together we can cut down on these numbers, particularly when these upgrades are done and the trend of stealing those 2 particular vehicles is over with.
2 things, just slightly out of what we are talking about, but since we are talking about crimes, where are we with numbers of homicide, unfortunately, compared to last year, and where are we with the number of officers in the street, considering the retirement and everything else?
Okay, so I'm going to call Chief Trudell up for the homicide stats, even though I think I got him in my head, but I'll mess them up.
Oh, this is as of November 13th. We are at 20 homicides right now compared to 15 last year. A couple of these homicides this year, though, the person actually was injured years in the past, but just recently died this year. So that would count on this year's stats. So they're a little bit skewed in that we have additional homicides that didn't actually occur this year. They just died this year. But we're at 20 now compared to 15 last year.
Okay.
Our solvability right now is right around 80%.
80%, okay. Yeah, keep in mind, I mention that all the time because the average across the country has dipped into the 50%, and we're at 80%, and many times we hit 100. As far as officers on the road, we just swore in 8 officers yesterday for the mayor's 10th academy. You know, I've served under 6 mayors. I mentioned it at the swearing in. I don't recall ever seeing those numbers before. He's got 2 years to go. He continues to greenlight academies. Our problem right now is the number of people taking the test went from 700 to the last test we pulled had 43 on it. So it's not a matter of academies anymore. They're greenlighted. It's a matter of number of people we're putting in the academy. My academy was 38 people, and there were a lot of people turned away from that academy. I would love to go back to those days where we can put academies on of 38 people. I don't think it's going to happen in the near future, but we'll keep putting academies out as much as we can. I think one of our saving graces is going to be this cadet program. 16 people are in a cadet program right now. These are individuals, young people who have already decided at an early age, I want to be in law enforcement. They're going through various curriculums as far as the physical fitness tests, because we lose a great number of people during the physical fitness test and a great number of people in the academy when they find out that they actually have to run and do push-ups. So they're also doing that. So when they enter the academy, they still have to take the civil service test, but when they eventually enter our academy, they're going to already be part of our family because they've been a cadet for over a year or so. They're going to pass the physical fitness test with no problem, pass the academy, and become law enforcement. That cadet program is going to really continue to help us in the long run if we don't get the numbers up in our civil service test. And I don't know, certainly I think it would be remiss if I don't call Deputy Chief Scholzke up to talk about all the different things we're doing to recruit more and enhance our recruitment. So, because I know she feels left out.
Thanks, Chief, I think. Julie Shulsky, Syracuse Police. With our recruitment, we've really tried to reach out as much as we can. The cadet program has been fantastic. Hopefully it'll be a nice pipeline into our academy as we move forward. All but 2 or 3 of our cadets have taken the civil service exam, and they're just waiting on their test results now. The ones that haven't don't have their citizenship yet, and they're working on that and plan to move forward with taking the test in the future. We have partnered with Solon Quinn. I know you guys know that because you voted yes. Thank you. And he has really helped us in our recruitment efforts with focusing on social media for our advertisement. We had been doing radio ads and billboard ads and TV ads and things like that, and they're extremely expensive to do that type of advertisement. And this past time when we had the window for signing up for the test over the summer, we took all that money and put it directly into social media, and the response was absolutely great. We have a text-based recruitment tool called Interview Now. You can text Join SPD to a phone number, and it automatically asks you a bunch of questions, make sure that you are qualified to become a police officer, and then can put you in touch with a recruitment officer if you'd like to speak further with them. But that also puts them into our database so that we can reach them and let them know about recruitment events or upcoming tests, things like that. And when we put all that money into social media, the people that were texting to that Interview Now tool increased exponentially. So we're really hopeful that a lot of people actually signed up for that test and took it in the fall, and that's what we're waiting on now is for the results of that. And hopefully we'll get those any day now, and we can start another hiring process. Do you want me to go into everything that we've been doing?
No, but just, Julia, as far as retirements, the counselor mentioned retirements. Our retirements seem to have trickled off to just the usual we lose each and every year, and we always have. Like our numbers are very small as far as retirements.
Yeah, our retirements have definitely came down quite a bit, and it's just the normal, people hit their 20 and they're headed out the door, that type of thing. We've also hired 6 lateral officers this year, which is huge for us. It's been a while since we've had some laterals join our department, so that's also been great this year. So hopefully, maybe by the end of next year, we'll be up by 400, up to 400, not by 400. That'd be good.
Which brings me to the next question. I think the last time we spoke here, we were around 380 something, 383 or something like that. Are we sworn officers? Is that the number, or is it a little higher?
It's a little higher than that. It might be just below 390 at this point. I don't know the exact number right now. But
Okay.
we're getting there.
So when does your next cadet program start?
So the current cadets will graduate the program the end of March, and then we'll start our hiring process at that time, because I'd really like to try to capture some of the people coming from PSLA, graduating in June and then starting in July with another cadet program.
So can folks apply for that now, and then they just get put in a queue for consideration when that enrollment starts next June?
We will open the window to apply for it probably beginning of next year.
Other questions?
But it's 18 to 34 is the age for the cadet program.
Aren't you?
Yeah, okay, well, don't hold your breath.
Well, I want to thank you, Chief. I want to thank your team for working so hard for us, and that will conclude our meeting. Thank you, councilors.
Thanks for your leadership there.